Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how are you doing this evening?
Joshy boy, I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, very well. Enjoying game week 21, which is about to come to a close. West Ham are currently winning 2-0, thanks to my captain, Jared Bowen. So I'm in a happy mood. I'm in a very happy mood, man. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, good. Not as happy as you because I don't have Bowen and I have not captain Bowen, but
Okay.
Kufal with the assists. So that this game hasn't been an absolute, terrible story for me. But I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. It's rare. I swear we're never both happy, are we? One of us is happy, the other one not. It's
Yeah,
rare. It's rare that we both are.
it's
One
like
day we'll both be happy.
there's a set amount of happiness, and like you can't go above that level. A certain amount has to go to one person.
Yeah, we're either both fairly miserable, or one of us is happy and the other one's suicidal. But
Great. Get
but
on
yeah,
that note.
other than that, all good, man, all good. What are we doing today, Josh?
So yeah, obviously it's been a bit of a crazy week and the way that the fixtures have gone. So we're going to look at game week 22. We've got some specific questions about the double fixtures, the double game. Well, teams that are playing twice, basically. Assets, potential for free hit, and some other questions as well. We're going to look at the key fixtures. We just got three there, and then we're going to talk about our plans, what we're actually doing, you and I, for 22 itself. So not too much to cover, but some pretty meaty topics, I reckon, for that game week 22.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, that's the big question in it on everyone's mind is how to handle this double coming up. And it's not a straightforward one at all. So yeah, looking forward to hearing what you make of it. And yeah, looking forward to getting into the meat of that double game week.
Good. As a veggie, you're
I
looking.
gotta have meat. I gotta have some kind of meat,
There you
which
go.
is FPL. So there you
FPL
go.
meat.
FPL meat. Should have called that the pod, really. That should be the
Damn
name of
it.
the pod, FPL
FPL
meat.
meat. We've missed a trick there.
So yeah, good. Yeah, like you say, Josh, game week 21, we talked about it in the last pod. It's going well with West Ham. Let's not dwell on how we're doing on it. Let's just go into it, shall we?
Sure.
Into this, dive into this pit of doubles. So how do you want to approach it?
Oh, I've put these questions together so I can pitch them to you and we can kind
Cool.
of go back and forth.
Cool.
I've named them quickfire questions, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they're not going to be particularly quick. So the first one, quite a broad question, and I'm sure one that a lot of people would want the answer to. Obviously, double game week for 22. The doubles, the team that have doubles are Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Leicester, Manchester United, Spurs, and Watford. What would your arguments be for and against a free hit for this week?
So I'm against a free hit this week.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, I thought I wouldn't be, but I am against it this week. I think even if you've got both of them left, I'm not sure I would free hit. If you've used one already, like I have, definitely don't free hit. And the reason is because the fixtures aren't that good, really, for any of the teams that have a double. So maybe, Josh, we could touch on each teams and their fixtures and just say why they're good or bad assets to bring in. Or maybe that's the next question, isn't it? I've just had a look at your next question. Maybe we'll do that on the next one. But yeah, talking about a free hit, it's just I don't know. I was thinking about it, and a free hit, I love to use a free hit on a blank game week. So when there's like 3 or 4 fixtures, and that's because you typically can't field a team in those weeks with your normal squad. So you're looking at 0 points from quite a few players. So to bring in a free hit at least guarantees you better returns than if you leave it, because you're going to do better than 0 points, even if those players blank. Whereas a double game week like this, there's no sort of telling, especially with these fixtures, there's no saying that the players you bring in with double games are going to do better than, say, your West Ham assets or your Liverpool assets, which you would be getting out for, or your Man City assets, which you would be getting out for these Burnley, Brentford, Leicester, Watford players, So I think for that reason, avoid the free hit this week. What do you think? Are you going to play it? You've got 2 left.
I still have 2, yeah. And, I was kind of 50-50. And the more I looked into it, the more I kind of talked myself out of it, partly because of the reasons you said. The fixtures themselves don't look great. Like, no, apart from Watford,
That's the thing.
yeah, they've got Newcastle and Burnley, but both away against it. There's no kind of magic team with, really good assets that shine out of this game week. And there's a lot of, closely matched, I think, fixtures as well. So it's really difficult to kind of pick them out. And then you couple that with, we're still getting quite last minute cancellations as well. So, will they all turn out to be doubles, or will, there be more positive tests? And we had the Everton Leicester game that was cancelled in this game week, quite late notice. And although the game week only runs from Friday to Wednesday, that's long enough for something to happen, right in the middle of it. And yeah, so I think it was one of those things that you start putting together a draft free hit team, and you just don't. I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the look of it at all. But then the flip side, if I was going to play devil's advocate, would be those players probably don't have high ownership, and I don't own them also. So, if the Leicester games do go ahead, it would be quite nice to have like a Maddison, for example. And if we get announcements of, who else is going to be available for them to start as well, you could double up on them. Spurs, I know Son's out, but I don't have Kane. United, I don't have Ronaldo, for example. So the big hitters, although there aren't many of them for this double game week, I don't own them. So, and like you said, it's in comparison of what your kind of existing team is, isn't it? So I'm seeing quite a big gap between the free hit team and my existing team. So that's the only reason why I think I could be persuaded to do it. But overall, I think you're right. It's not a good one for the doubles.
Yeah. And on that point, like just because you're not free hitting doesn't mean you can't bring in these blank game week players with a transfer or 2. A lot of people still have Salah, including me, who we have to get rid of, really. Now he's at AFCON. So that's a transfer out for anyone you want because of his price. So I'd be looking at, if I'm making transfers this week, yes, let's bring in some of these blank game week players. But yeah, you make a good point about the free hit just not looking great, even if you do it, even with the best possible template for the free hit. It's just not that. It just doesn't look very good. I mean, you probably throw a Trossard in there. You probably put a Dennis and a King maybe. You're putting Cancelo, Trent, Jota in, Bowen, Antonio. Probably not. So yeah, it's tricky. But I think I don't think it's wise to do it.
It's not a sexy week, is it?
Yeah, we'll come on to captaincy as well. There's no obvious captain, I don't think. I mean, Son being out, he would have been the number 1 pick. He'd have been a guy that I'd bring in on a transfer, and he'd be, if I was free hitting, be number 1 in my free hit team. But Son's out now, so the midfield options are just bleak for these doublers. Yeah, I mean, what more can we say? If you've got 2, if you've got 2 free hits, it's tricky. It's harder because you have got that bonus swing. But I think if you're patient, there will be, as there is every year, there's going to be other doubles, better doubles. There's going to be blank game weeks for sure. I think we know game week 30 will be one now, Ben Crellin was saying. So that's the time you definitely want to use it. And yeah, I think if there's those consecutive double game weeks that you get sometimes, then it's always good to prep your team for one of them and then free hit for the other one. So yeah, I think there'll be better times to use 2 this season is the bottom line on that.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there for that first question of if the arguments are stacked up against free hitting this week. But if you've got the balls to do it and it plays off, then
yeah, happy for you.
Yeah, happy for you.
Godspeed.
Ecstatic. But we can, segue that over to the second part of the question. It's the second question, but it's kind of related,
Sure.
which is we're not free hitting, as we said. So, which individual, or maybe two, or how many hits you take in, but which players do you want out of these, double game week assets?
Well, I think for this
as well.
For this question, Josh, let's just do a sense check on each of these teams, should we then? And just talk about their double fixtures. So alphabetically, Brentford, they've got Liverpool and Man United.
Hideous.
I want 0 of those players. Do you? Do we need to dwell on Brentford?
Again, we're not talking free hit, are we? So we're literally talking for this game, game week and the medium term. No.
Yeah. I mean, even if you are free hit and don't get Brentford player in, we can kind of tail end it with that. Yeah. Brighton have got Palace and Chelsea. For Brighton, I have looked at Cucurella, the defender. He looks pretty good. And I think Trossard on a free hit is quite good, as I've said. So I think maybe a Brighton defender in Cucurella is not a bad shout if you've got a bit of a budget there. So yeah, defensively for double game weekers, I think Brighton aren't bad. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that in any game week, it's defense for Brighton, really, isn't it? Because their attacking output isn't great. In this one, this double specifically, another reason I think to go defensive heavy, because Palace can be stubborn defensively. Chelsea, despite having a couple of problems in recent fixtures, they are still one of the best defenses in the league. So just not looking good for Brighton, scoring lots of goals. So yeah, Cucurella, I mean, I want to say Lamptey, but he still just hasn't got the minutes yet. He's the exciting one, isn't he? So I think we've got to wait longer on him. So Cucurella is the only one I think I'd consider from Brighton.
Yeah, same. I got Sanchez a goal who I'm happy with, but I certainly wouldn't spend a hit on a goalie this week.
No.
For the double at all. Cool. So that's Brighton. So Burnley, I've got Leicester, Watford. They just lost Chris Wood. Leicester, Watford, not the worst fixtures in the world, Josh, but Cornet's not there. Wood's gone. Are we doing anything with Burnley?
I think they're the only two that we could have stretched to any kind of argument for.
Wood and Cornet.
Yeah. And I think defensively, they've, we're thinking of the Burnley of old, aren't we? When we talk about them defensively, that they haven't been there this year. McNeil's the guy that we thought at the start of the year could maybe do something, be a bit of a spark for them, but no. So again, nothing for Burnley.
Yeah, stay away from Burnley. Just the whole season, free hit or not, stay away from them. Chelsea, though, have got Man City, tricky, and Brighton, tricky, both away. Pretty tricky fixtures for Chelsea. No Reece James, obviously injured. Anyone tickle your fancy at Chelsea, Josh?
Again, it's that kind of merry-go-round of players, isn't it? Like, I think Mount, obviously, as a midfield asset, is the exciting one. Keeps him ticking over. Has had mixed minutes this season for different reasons, but I think now it looks like he's kind of back, isn't he now? So defensively, obviously, Rudiger will probably get a lot of playing time. Alonso as well, because they didn't have other options down that left-hand side. But it's annoying that since, Chilwell got injured and he's come back, he just hasn't really been doing it on the front foot. And against these two teams, he'll be up against probably Cancelo in the City game and any wide player for them, and Lamptey for Brighton. He's probably going to get pinned back. So, yeah, I don't know. Mount and Rudiger, I'd probably go then for just this game week particularly.
Yeah, I mean,
anyone else for you?
I think if you're transferring, avoid them because they're blanking. They've got potentially two blanks in a row, which is quite unprecedented. But in a couple of weeks, they may blank twice. So, do you want to lumber your team with players permanently from them to bench them in those 2 weeks? Yeah, would be what I say. The fixtures aren't great either in this blank, like you said. Alonso are kind of semi looked at. because he'll probably be nailed now. But like you said, he's not quite the Alonso of old. He does threaten to get there again, but yeah, I'd avoid them if you're transferring. If you're free hitting, I think the players have said Mount, because the midfield options aren't that great for this double. It's probably a good shout, Mount. But other than that, yeah, I can see Man City scoring certainly. So I'm not totally convinced on clean sheets for them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Leicester though, two better fixtures: Burnley and Spurs. Decent fixtures there. What do you reckon?
The Burnley one for sure. The Spurs one, obviously, you don't know under Conte exactly which Spurs going to turn up. They don't have Son. That's probably a good bonus for Leicester playing them then. Or we don't think they'll have Son from Conte's comments. So yeah, in terms of assets, probably wouldn't be looking at anyone defensively because no one's on great form and the team isn't on great form defensively. Maddison, obviously, in the middle. We've described him as a streaky player in the past. So yeah, you might get lucky with him, you might not. But he's probably the best in the middle for them. And then up front, you've just got a bit of a conundrum at the moment, isn't it? Like, we don't really know who's back and fit, and especially because they didn't play that Everton game. We don't really know what the deal is. So Iheanacho is definitely not there. Vardy, I don't know if he's back and fit. And Daka, did he go to AFCON? I think
didn't go. No, he's injured.
So.
He didn't go because he was injured. So he might be back, weirdly playing during AFCON for Leicester.
Otherwise, they have no real out-and-out strikers, do they? So
no, they don't. Leicester, though, yeah, I do like Maddison. I do like him as a shout for a transfer. I'm thinking of getting him in myself because yes, he's streaky, but he does look like he's in one of those streaks. You know, he's in a hot streak at the moment. And even just the eye test watching him, he looks like a different player all of a sudden. He looks amazing, like every touch he makes. So yeah, I think they'll do damage against Burnley. And they looked all right when they played without those three strikers. I think they played Lookman up front. So he could be a differential shout if you're looking to sort of climb rank. But if I had to pick a midfielder, I'd go for Maddison on a free hit or on a or for a transfer from Leicester.
Yeah. I mean, their longer term fixtures aren't looking great either.
No.
Brighton afterwards, Liverpool, West Ham, then Wolves. You know,
it's not the best, is it?
That are either good or stubborn. So
yeah. Yeah, again, see, not the best. Normally, Leicester I'd like Leicester are one of the better ones from this bunch, and we're still sort of umming and ahhing, aren't we? So
yeah,
I think that says it all, really. Moving on, Man United, Villa and Brentford.
Villa revenge. Should I kick this to you first, Jack? I'll maybe I can just unleash the cannon and step back.
The FA Cup game on the Monday. So Villa have just played Man U on Monday in the FA Cup, and we got them again. I mean, I've in my few years on this earth, I've never seen Villa dominate Man United like that in 34 years. Like we were the far and away the better team. How we didn't win is a joke. Don't get me started on that disallowed goal either. But I firmly believe we'll batter them at the weekend. I really do. They look terrible. Like they can barely string a pass together. Like Ronaldo or no Ronaldo. I think they're a massive trap. I really do. And I know I'm biased and I know I hate them, but my eyes weren't deceiving me there. They looked terrible, Josh. But they've got Brentford. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're both away fixtures. And what I would say from what I've seen of Brentford this year, their better performances have been at home. You know, the crowd has been getting behind them. I know they've been a bit peaky. So I would say, I'm not going to say that that's a difficult fixture for United, but it being away, I think, should add something to the equation. And when you're thinking, oh, you know, they've got Villa away, they've got Brentford. Like Villa proven they're going to make it tricky, and I think they'll want revenge. Brentford away, you know, Brentford, I think, aren't just going to roll over by any means. So again, and then you go to the United squad and team themselves, they're not filling you with confidence defensively.
Not at all. For
getting a clean sheet. I think they could definitely concede against Villa, maybe against Brentford as well. And then you think, oh, who's going to be scoring goals for them? Like, Ronaldo, obviously, but is he back? That's the other thing. Is he going to play both games? Age, the fact that he's missed minutes recently as well. So again, just more doubts and uncertainty over. There's just no clear assets we definitely want from there, is there? Like, who do you want?
No.
Rashford,
I think,
Fernandez? Probably not.
I mean, Rashford he looked depressed. It was really weird. It was sad. It was sad to see Rashford in that game. He looked completely off it. And then when he got subbed, he looked like he just wanted to be somewhere else. It was weird. I think a lot of people are going to get sucked in by the Ronaldo captaincy here. And it is Ronaldo, and he could score for sure. It's Ronaldo, but they do look. This must be the worst team Ronaldo's ever played in, I think, in his career, in terms of how they're playing now. I think, Bruno Fernandes as well. He looked poor in the FA Cup. I think a few people might be tempted with him because with the Salah inevitable sale, you've got all that money. You do want premiums, don't you? If you have money. So yeah, maybe they'll come good because they're so talented, but it just doesn't look like it at the moment for Man U. So I would, if I was free hitting, would I get one of them in? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe again, because there's so few other options, where else do you turn? But it doesn't inspire you, does it?
Not at all.
No.
Not
Anyway.
No, I'm not looking at them for transfer. As you said, maybe a free hit, but no United assets.
Yeah, certainly not transfers, certainly not. Spurs, on the other hand, so they have got tricky fixtures, Arsenal and Leicester. Arsenal at home, Leicester away. So the derby, Leicester, they've got no Son. Kane, though, picking up form, and he does love to score against these two teams. What do you think?
Picking up form is not the same as being in form.
True.
And I think, I've been burned this year from the form versus, underlying stats and fixture argument with the Dennis versus King. We said this at the beginning of the year, and I'm saying it more to remind myself than anyone else, but you want strikers on form irrespective of fixture and anything like that, and he is just not quite in form yet. So I know what you mean. You want to replace Salah with someone else. You've got to do two if you're obviously go for Kane because the position difference. So for me, it's in the absence of Son, he's probably the best shout, maybe closely followed by Reguilon there for me. But I'm not filled with confidence in recommending him at all. Kane, yeah, no.
It's tricky. Like, I mean, he's the last month, so in the last 4 games, he's third highest for XG, and he scored 3 goals in those games. So I would say he is picking up form. Mm-hmm. I'm tempted to bring him in a captain, actually, Kane, for this one. But not in a kind of it's a no-brainer way. I think Son would have been more of a no-brainer if he was playing, to just bring him in for Salah, captain him. That's that decision made for you. But yeah, the fact that he's got tricky fixtures, Kane, and there's no Son to make Spurs better, then it doesn't make it a straightforward decision. You're right. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But I just can't bring myself to not captain a double game weeker,
Yeah,
this week it just feels wrong when you see the doubles and you're captain in a singular, especially when Salah's not there. Salah would probably been if Salah was here, it'd probably be the first time I've ever captained a single game weeker in a double game week, but he's not. So yeah.
Well, Jack, not sure. Maybe the next team will have the answer to that question for you.
Well, maybe they will. So the last team on the roster is Watford, Newcastle away, and Burnley away. Could you get better fixtures? Maybe if Norwich are in there, but it doesn't get much better. Josh, are we looking at a King Dennis double up?
I mean, doubts around Dennis and how much time he can play. I know he's back in training, but a double right off the bat, obviously, you think, is he going to play 90 for both? We don't know. I mean, if he gets a 90 and a 60 or a 90 and a 45, then that's not bad, to be fair, I don't think, considering the fixtures that he's got. So, yeah, if I was free hitting, I'd want those two for sure, and maybe someone else in the mix. I've actually got as my backup keeper, I've got Backman, so I'll be starting him over over Ramsdale. So
Didn't go well last time, Josh. That
oh
move.
my god, that's not talking about that. It's that surely this. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't be angry this time round
you
if
got
I
to do
mess
it.
that up, because
Yeah.
it's Arsenal versus Spurs or Watford against Newcastle and Burnley. God, I just jinxed myself. But Watford aren't great at keeping clean sheets. In fact, I think I'm right in saying they've had none in the Prem this year.
I mean, their defense is a shambles, isn't it? Even injury-wise, they're a joke at the moment at the back. But yeah.
But going forward and against these teams, that is exciting. And you've already listed the two guys you want going forward. So I don't have Dennis, but so maybe I should be looking at him.
Where do you sit on the Dennis King debate of Dennis is getting the returns, but King on the expected returns is outshining him? If you had to bring one of them in now, who would you bring in?
Now, I would bring in Dennis, and I wish I had this. I wish I could go back to my past self and say, here's a note from the future, put a gun to my head, say, pick Dennis, not King, you idiot.
Well, if that's the one note you're passing your past self, I think you've done pretty well in life. If that's the one thing you'd write. I can tell my past self one thing and one thing only. Pick Dennis game week 18.
Yeah, buy crypto. But yeah, that's the FPL related, going back in time, what I do. So yeah, that's where I sit. I know you definitely got Dennis. Have you still got King as well?
No, I did ditch King. I ditched him for Watkins, I think, who hasn't really paid me back yet, Ollie. But I've got high hopes for him against United. He should have scored in the FA Cup, so we'll see. But yeah, King. Yeah, it's tricky to go King or Kane this week. I don't know. Well, we'll come on to our plans, won't we? But yeah, I think Watford, apart from King and Dennis, there isn't really anybody I'd recommend.
No.
That's despite the really good fixtures. I mean, their midfield is sort of, who even is their midfield? Sarr's injured, and then you've just got, who have you really got?
Deeper line, the Will Hughes. They play another striker there, isn't it?
Chucho, is it? Or João Pedro?
Pedro does sometimes come on, play wide.
Yeah.
Chucho, he's the defensive mid, isn't he? But
so
I know, I'm thinking of he's the other winger. But yeah, the reason that we're not talking about them is because they don't do anything. Like,
yeah, they don't. Sarr was doing things, wasn't he? Sarr, him out is really bad. How bad is he? 8th of Feb. Yeah, it's quite a bad injury for them.
Yeah, so he could make a difference because their front line will look incredible with him coming back if he does hit the ground running. But yeah, so excited about Watford attacking assets for this double game week for sure.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Dennis doesn't come away with something in these two games. But Newcastle will be really interesting to see how they do with these new signings. And Burnley, without their two main men, they could get a pummeling. So yeah,
true.
Good.
Well, good breakdown. I think we've answered that question thoroughly.
Yeah.
Those are the players we'd want to recommend for the transfers to attack that double game week if you're not going for the free hit. So we've got 3 more questions to continue, unless you've got nothing else to say on the double game week. These relate to just more specific points, so there should be more quickfire, more in the vein of quickfire.
Cool.
Livramento, I think a lot of people have got him. Looks like he's going to be out for a bit longer. Hassan Hutul didn't clearly state how long it's going to be, but said, there's potential for him to need surgery. So obviously keep your ear to the ground. But if we take that as it is, who would you replace him with? Because I'm guessing you're going to want a budget defender to fill that spot. Like, who else would you consider?
Yeah, depending on what you term as budget, I'd go to Brighton. And if you could afford him, I'd go for Cucurella. If not, I'd go for Lamptey. Because I think if you're making the sub this week, you've just got to get in a double game weeker. I just don't think you can avoid that opportunity, really. And yeah, I think Brighton are the one that stands out in the budget round. Watford's defence is a shambles, despite their really good fixtures. I just think you're asking for trouble with a Watford defender. Brentford, the fixtures are horrible. There's no way they're keeping clean sheets there. And I mean, Leicester maybe would be the other one. Who on Leicester is any good? I'm just kind of looking at their name and not saying a defender name really there. But even they're like, they're not really cheap, and they're not, and they've got loads of injuries. So it's, I mean, is Vestergaard going to play? I don't even know. So maybe you avoid them. Yeah, I can't look past Brighton really. How about you?
No, the ones you said for sure, and I was just trying to think of any others that I could throw in the mix. Dare I, Jack,
Wolves.
say I was
Sorry,
going
go
to say
on.
Wolves, but dare I also throw in a Villa defender with the fixtures that you've got coming up? So you
Well, we've
obviously
got an
got
easy one
Cash,
against United, easy one against Man U coming up.
easy one
And
against United
then,
coming up.
well, yeah, so the root, good point, Josh. Yeah, the rumor is that Villa could have a double in 23, in game week 23, which is obviously next week, which would be pretty big. So one of them's against Everton, who we just somehow stole Digny from and given them El Ghazi, which is trade deal of the century, that one. But yeah, I mean, it goes against bringing in a defender for this game week. A doubler for this game week. But if you are looking longer term, I'd say, yeah, Villa and Wolves are probably good shouts. Villa defense is sort of, Digne will probably play over target now, so he could be a shout, but we haven't seen him, so you can't be 100% sure. And Cash is playing okay, but not really creating loads from an attacking perspective. Konsa does get forward for set pieces and can do damage, but if I was bringing in a Villa defender now, it would probably be Cash. Yeah, probably be Cash, subject to seeing how Digne does.
Yeah, great. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's all I want to hear. I mean, I know what you mean. There's no replacement for a player like Livy at his price point, is there? That I think that's the bottom line. Is you're not going to find a like for like, because he's been unique this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Lamptey, if he does stay fit, has the potential, doesn't he, to be 4.5 mil. He looks class when he plays, doesn't he? He's just made of glass a little bit.
He's a winger, basically.
Yeah, and for a better team, you'd say, than Saints in Brighton. So yeah, Lamptey would be top of the pile.
Very good. Good, concise answer. Next, will form be impacted for teams that lose AFCON players or lots of AFCON players? So obviously you're looking to replace some of your AFCON players. Maybe you're looking at some of the players that are going to come in to replace them in those respective teams. But is there a danger there? Because that team's been weakened by the loss of those players.
Yeah, I don't know enough, Josh, about any component of that to give a good answer. The obvious one is Liverpool. My guess would be that yes, there'll be a dip in form for some of these teams. Cornet going from Burnley is pretty big for them, I think, especially with Wood gone. But looking at Liverpool, no Salah and Mane. I mean, you're the expert here, Josh. Is that going to impact them?
I mean, yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think
how would that manifest, would you predict?
Well, it's so many facets to it. One, there's the people coming in are nowhere near the level of Salah and Mane. And I think in almost all departments. So Salah and Mane are incredible finishers, play with incredible intensity, have outright pace. If you replace them with Origi's not slow, but his work rate is a lot less. So, Mane, we've seen it this year. He steals the ball off of defenders' feet and creates chances from that alone. Jota does the same. And I think the people coming in just cannot replace even that side of their game, let alone, the finishing and everything. So what that will inevitably do is put pressure on the rest of the Liverpool team. Because if you're not, you're 1-2 goals ahead early on, or not taking your chances and not winning the ball out of the pitch, then the other team's going to push upon you. So I think, that's going to bring down Liverpool's output. The big question is just by how much, and whether it should impact you looking at I know a lot of people go with Jota anyway, because he's the guy now that they're gone, but people like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Origi are probably going to get more minutes because of all of this, or the absence of those players. And then the other teams that I was thinking about really is like Leicester won't have Ndidi and Iheanacho. They're light on strikers at the moment. So that you mentioned, look, already is that a nod to him. And then the other ones are, like Arsenal, maybe not quite so much impacted, but Partey is quite a big player for them in the middle of the pitch, because it probably means someone like Xhaka's going to play, and you know what that means.
Yeah, could mean anything, couldn't it? That with Xhaka coming in.
Yeah. So it was just a kind of nod to that as a secondary impact to AFCON. So don't immediately think, oh, I'll bring in Origi or I'll bring in Lookman, because like you were saying about Kane, not having Son around has another impact on him.
Yeah, just see how these teams do. Yeah, I mean, Firmino, Jota, still class. And will it be Origi, or will it be a Minamino or an Oxlade that slots in there? Do we even know?
We don't know. Yeah, I would have thought that it would have been shared. The role would have been shared, but the fact that Origi's been linked with, and I think bids have been received by multiple teams, including Serie A teams, and the thing that's been reported is Klopp has said, no, we need you. So that makes me think he's got to play, because you can't just not let the guy go.
Can't do a Lingard on him. Can't do a Lingard.
No, you can't go, but we're not going to play it. So it makes me think that that's going to be rewarded with minutes. It has to be. Whether that's cup games or whether that's Prem games, that's another question. But I think he will get some for sure.
Yeah, the lesson is watch them closely for the next game and see how they line up and how they go on.
Don't jump on it.
Cool.
And the final question I had, Jack, for you was Son. Conte reported out till Feb, after the international break. What kind of replacements are we looking at here? So I guess you could say this is either mid direct replacements, any mid, or in a premium bracket. So you could be looking at strikers as well. Who's the best like for like?
Yeah, so a few ones here. So if you go in the doubles, we sort of mentioned the players that you should be looking at, and I think that's Maddison and Mount. If you're looking in the very, very short term, that is for this game week. Because a lot of people, I think 300,000 people brought Son in before that announcement, which is killer. A further 200,000 have taken him out since. So, yeah, if you're looking for this blank game week, I keep saying blank game week. What's the matter with me? Double game week. Then I would go for Mason Mount or a James Maddison, or maybe a Lucas Moura. If you want to stick with Spurs, probably those three would be the ones. But if you're looking more long term, then I mean, again, Villa with that potential double. If that gets confirmed and you fancy a wild punt, Coutinho's price has just been announced at 7 million. It's just whether Gerrard opts to ease him in off the bench, or because I don't think he's been playing that much, has he, for Barca? So
I'm not sure.
No. So that's a wild punt. Otherwise, Buendia has looked fantastic the last few games for Villa. Looked really creative with Watkins innings there. He's going to be the one feeding them if Coutinho's not there. But then I'd also finally add Man City have got a very tasty run of fixtures after Chelsea this week. So they've got Southampton, Brentford, then Norwich in the next three after that. So if you want to take a punt at a Bernardo Silva, dare I say it, or a Foden, then now's the time to do it. Mahrez is gone, isn't he, to AFCON?
Yeah.
So that's one less player who's in the rotation mix there. That still leaves loads of them, obviously. But if you can maybe stretch to KDB, if you get rid of Son, then he's definitely worth a look, I think. That's looking outside the doubles. But those were the ones that are on my radar, I suppose. What do you think?
Agree with all those from the double and kind of medium term to longer term afterwards. Did you say Bowen as well?
I didn't. Sorry, no. I assume everyone has Bowen, but of course
I do
not.
have Bowen.
Joshy, get him.
But yeah, I mean, not just from this game week, but before even you showing the signs, I think we know that he's the guy in form at the moment for them, isn't he? So yeah, could say him, and also, Jota is the one that a lot of people have gone to as well. I don't know if you mentioned him specifically, but yeah, those two I think a lot of people have been directly shifting, haven't they, from Son?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A Liverpool asset, Jota has to be in your team, I think, to be honest. And I think Bowen does now. After
Yeah,
he's just on fire.
lovely.
Good.
That's all of the quick fire questions.
Love it.
So we've just got 3 key fixtures and then our transfer plan. So it shouldn't take very long to go through these key fixtures because we've talked about assets already. So this is just about playing or not playing or benching if you have the luxury. They're all big fixtures. There's a lot of big fixtures this week. First one, City versus Chelsea. Jack,
Yeah, tough one.
what are you doing here? You playing everything, or you picking a side?
Well, I have none of either team.
Oh,
So apart from James, who I'm going to get rid of. So yeah, if I did have both, I'd still play both of them. It's kind of always the case with the big players. It's sort of you've got them in your team. You're going to have to play them because of how much they cost. Because who you're going to play Brownhill instead of a Bernardo Silva? Don't think so. But I mean, I'd be wary, I suppose, of Chelsea defence in this because they haven't looked that good, have they, lately, Chelsea? They've kind of faltered a bit with that whole Lukaku thing and all of that drama. So I think City will probably win, but I wouldn't captain a City asset. And that's double game week as a side. Chelsea have got the double game week, but I'd avoid captaining. If I had a Mason Mount, I wouldn't captain him. Definitely play him, obviously, because it's a double game week, but yeah, don't expect much in that first fixture. Yeah. You going to say anything more radical on that, Josh?
no, I'd love to be able to, disagree with you on something, but I agree with all of those points. I think City are going to control the game. I've got 2 City defenders, and I will be playing them. I think I'm hoping it's one of those top of the table clashes where they kind of negate each other and City just nick it by 1 and just control the game for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I can see that happening, but then it's unpredictable when 2 big boys slug it out.
Yes, indeed.
Talking of big-ish boys slugging it out, we've got the North London derby next. So Spurs at home to Arsenal. Again, another edge that derby brings an edge to the game. What are you thinking for that, Jack?
Yeah. Does form go out the window with the derby? Some say it does. I would say both teams kind of on the up at the minute. Arsenal are flying, though, I would say. So if I went purely on form, you'd probably fancy Arsenal for the win, especially Spurs without Son. So I probably think Arsenal will win it. But I've also said that I thought about captaining Kane this week because he's got that double. So maybe I'm talking nonsense a bit there. But I just think Arsenal look great at the minute. So I'm just you highlighting that fixture has made me think twice about getting Kane in. So yeah, I think it's yeah, I don't know what to say. Arsenal to win it.
Yeah, I don't think, as you said, they're 2 quite closely matched teams at this point in the season. Because I think start of the year, Spurs were better. And then they've dipped, and Arsenal have, been moving in the other direction. I think they've kind of leveled a bit. They're very, very close, aren't they? I would say at the moment in terms of 2 teams meeting each other at this point in the season. Yeah. And then you add into the mix that it's a derby, and there's really, you don't know what's going to happen. There will obviously both teams will want to win even more than ever. The fact that it's that derby as well. So it's just whether Conte can add that Italian kind of defensive control to the game and just shut it out. I don't know whether he's had long enough with Spurs to be able to do that against Arsenal at this point in the season. So I would still play all your assets because of that unpredictability. And as you said, the Arsenal assets are on form for the most part. So go for it.
Yeah. Fair points.
And then the last one is the other Spurs fixture that I've put in there. So we talked about a couple of Leicester assets. People own Spurs assets already. Leicester at home to Spurs. Who do you think is going to take home the bacon there, Jack?
Yeah, Spurs again. This one I would fancy Spurs on. Leicester without their strikers, and they're very hot and cold, Leicester. You don't know which Leicester side is going to turn up at all. You mentioned you don't know which Spurs side is going to turn up, but also Leicester. I mean, you don't know if they're going to lose 4-0 or win 4-0, really. I think very, very difficult one to predict. So, but I'd probably edge Spurs because Conte is a better manager than Rodgers, I think. So I think Conte will do him. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I think I feel like Leicester have kind of lost their way a little bit throughout this year. That streakiness that we've talked about, haven't we? Like they look good in
Mm.
moments, and then they look just like they've fallen apart in others. And so that lack of consistency just makes you think that they come up against a team that even maybe at the best day it isn't maybe quite as good. Or for Spurs, you may say that they are, but I feel like under Conte they've got a bit more consistency for for any given game. So I think I can see a Spurs win there, and especially because Leicester are stripped by those strikers. They don't have them, and not having Ndidi, I think is big for them as well. So
Indeedy.
yes, indeedy.
Yes, indeedy.
Great, and that was relatively quick. Key fixtures out of the way, which takes us to Jack, our own personal game week 22 plans. So do you obviously there's time before the deadline, so you may not have nailed these down, but what
No,
are you thinking for game week 22?
I don't know. I think I know these things, and I know I'm not going to play free hit, and I need to sell Salah. Are pretty much the only things I'm certain of this week, and that's
You're
it.
certain of definitely getting Salah out?
Yeah, who for, Josh? I don't know. Madison is on my radar. Lucas Moore is on my radar. And then I've got Reece James, who we know is injured. So do I take Reece James and Salah out, bring in a Cucurella or a Lamptey, and bring in a Madison or somebody for Salah? Or do I risk it with a Bruno for a Salah? Or do I get rid of an Antonio or a Watkins for a Kane? Those are the things that are rolling around my head, really. But as ever, with this climate, you've got to wait to the last minute. So I think the deadline's on Friday. It's on Friday and at 6:30. So I'm gonna let it ruminate, let it simmer, and hopefully it will become clear what I do. But that will be a -4. I can't see me just taking Salah out for someone. I can see myself getting tempted again by the double game weeks. And as has paid off for me this week and taking a -4 to get West Ham assets in, that's paid off for me. So I'm hoping again that will happen. And captaincy is really tough, I think. I think it's so difficult because we said Spurs don't have Son and they don't have the best fixtures. So Kane is sort of one. I think a lot of people will go Ronaldo. I'm not interested. And then, I mean, would you captain a Chelsea player with those fixtures? Probably not as well. Watford have the best fixtures, but am I really going to captain Dennis? I don't think I am. So
Put your money where your mouth is, Jack. You said
Yeah,
you always
maybe.
captain a double game week.
I do. And I can't not. I still can't not do that. Regulon, is he going to get it? Who knows?
Oh.
I don't know, man. What are you? Talk to me about you. What are you thinking?
So I've got 3 doors in front of me.
3 doors.
One is the game week 22 free hit, which I think we've boarded up. That door's been boarded up.
Don't let me sway you, Josh. If you want a free hit,
I think I swayed myself. I put those boards up myself across that door.
Mm-hmm.
The middle door is well, both the other 2 doors relate to transfers, but they also give us the plans for game week 23, because I think Krellin has said we should get the announcement on the game week 23 double fixtures before this deadline.
That would be good,
So
wouldn't it?
I want to kind of see what comes out of that for future planning. But if we don't have that for whatever reason, then obviously the focus is very much just making transfers this game week. For me, I'd want maybe Dennis, and that's probably it. I don't want many more because I don't want to make short-term transfers just to chase this game week.
That's a tricky thing.
And the ones I want for the long term are Bowen. Well, because he's, as you said, his form's incredible at the moment. And past that, he's just like the number one guy that I focused on. So none of the other guys are really jumping out until AFCON's done. So yeah.
And you got how many transfers you got?
I've got 1. I've got a lot in the bank. I've got 4 4 mil, I think.
And that's with Salah in your team still.
With Salah in the team. And that was another point. I think, Egypt lost their first game, which was unexpected.
It was to Nigeria, wasn't it? Who are good.
The next best team in there, or maybe the joint best team, you'd say, in their group. But if they don't get through, then he could be back by game week 24.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. Yeah. So are you tempted not to sell him then? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, if I'm free hitting in game week 23, then I only
game week 23 potential for free hit.
Yeah. So if that announcement that Quillian was saying, obviously said, Villa might have the double, there might be other doubles in there as well that look a little bit nicer than more appetizing than this game week 22 free hit potentially. So if I'm free hitting in 23 anyway, then I can just hold on to Salah for 1 week, this week, 22, and then he could be playing by 24. So
God, it'd be a bit of a differential then, I think.
I mean, yeah, there's no question about everyone wanting him back as soon as he is back, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just not knowing exactly when he could be back. So yeah, that's why I'm, as always, especially at the moment, just waiting for the deadline, isn't it? We might have more news.
Here's a question to round it off then. If you had to captain a double game weeker this week, who would it be? If you had any of them?
Well, I do have one, and I probably would captain him, and it is King.
Josh King. So, but you said you'd rather have Dennis over King. So if you had Dennis, would you captain Dennis?
Well, the thing with Dennis is he's just come back to training.
Yeah.
Literally today, was it? So, I mean, there's doubts over his minutes. He's the one I'd want. If they both had been playing games and Dennis hadn't missed any minutes at all, then I'd pick Dennis all day long.
He came off at half time, didn't he, that 1 week, which was a bit of a stinker.
Yeah, so there's worries that it's still a game week, but he may only play one of them, for example. Or, or play a bit part in both of them and be taken off to save his legs.
So you're going to captain Josh King this week?
Yeah, it was between him and Jota, but I think the double's very, very enticing with those fixtures. I'm just staring at the King with the Newcastle away and Burnley away underneath.
Burnley Newcastle is a tasty one though. I
don't
know
for you with Leeds at home. I mean that could be a whole season.
Well, but a single game week, Josh. I'm not interested. I don't think, unless it was Salah against Norwich.
He scored a
I
brace
don't think
tonight.
I'd do it.
Could be hard
he
to
did.
match.
He apparently hit the post twice as well. I'm gonna watch the highlights in a minute, but yeah, Leeds aren't that good, are they either? Oh, it's tough, man.
But no standout, which is good because
it's going to be a big mix. Yeah, if you get it right this week, a bit like the week just gone, if you went with Bowen over someone else, then you've done all right. Yeah, Antonio didn't get anything tonight, did he? I don't think.
No.
Was he your captain? He was. Sorry, I didn't know that when I asked that.
Damn it.
I mean, he got a goal. He got 18 points. You'd take that.
Yeah. It's not Bowen points though, is it? It's not Jared Bowen points.
It's not 42 points. It's not.
Damn.
It's so surreal when you see a 42 points in your team. It's like I've had game weeks, many this year, that have got less than that.
Yeah.
Like it does show what a haul can do for you.
It's a typo. It's got to be a typo.
It's weird, isn't it? But yeah, there we go. All right.
Good stuff. That's everything covered. Best of luck to everyone in game week 22. It's a lot of decisions to make, not a lot of certainty. Obviously, like and subscribe, follow on all the various conduits or way to conduits, just ways to watch us
on the platforms. Yeah,
put those words. It's been a long
conduit sounds nice.
Yeah. I was trying to find something sexy, but that's just not the word, was it?
You're sexy enough, Josh. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All the sex appeal we need. Good. All right. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
And see you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.